Greetings and welcome back to my dinner table. Welcome back to Pasta with Pasta. I got one more request since last time, which is by Shizzy. So thanks again, Shizzy, for the request. And I put it into the bowl with the other ones, so we have 6 requests in there. And let's draw one to see what we are cooking today. And it is this one, which is Penne Rigate with tomato and mushroom sauce. Request by Andy Ray Sim. So another one by her, by sheer coincidence. So I will see what I will have to get for ingredients. I'll go to the supermarket and I will be back with you in, let's say a few minutes for you, or a few seconds. For me, maybe an hour or so. And we'll begin cooking. Alrighty, let's see the spoils of war. So, today we're going to need some pasta, Penne Rigate in this case, 150 to 175 grams. We will need some mushrooms. I've got some champignons here. A hint, if you are buying these, if they look like these from the bottom, giggity, if they are enclosed right here, they are fresh. If they start to open like this, they are fresh too, but if they are entirely opened, they are not really fresh anymore. So if you buy them in loose instead of pre-packed, take care of that you get the enclosed ones. We will need some tomatoes. I will use we call them cherry tomatoes because they are small like cherries, because they are somewhat sweeter than the bigger tomatoes you get in Germany. Basically, the bigger tomatoes are the 4th physical state of water. Anyways, then some optional ingredients, which I like to use because I got them still from the last pasta times. I've got 2 shallots and a clove of garlic. As I said, entirely optional, but I like to use garlic and shallots, so I will do so. We will need some aceto balsamico, so balsamic vinegar for the sauce. We will need some oil for frying. I learned that this is called rape oil, approved by Glenn Quagmire. As in terms of seasoning, we have the usual suspects such as rosemary, thyme, oregano, salt, pepper, a different kind of pepper this time. This is, we call it colored pepper. Yeah, sounds a bit weird, I know. Then I have cayenne pepper, which is a red powder stuff. Something like chili, tastes a little bit different, but great to give a little bit of hot and spicy flavor to your sauces. And optional as well, tabasco or any hot sauce you like, to get it a little bit more spicy. Let's see the materials now. Today we'll need something we know from pretty much every episode: a pot with a lid for the pasta, a frying pan for the sauce, a spatula, a sieve for the pasta, and a cutting board. Go away there. And a knife. I have a tomato knife, which looks more like a saw. It's easier to cut the tomatoes with that, because with normal knives they tend to get be not sharp anymore, and it is very hard to cut tomatoes with that. So if you have something like this, like a little saw, it is easier to cut the tomatoes with that. Fun fact. Let's get going. Welcome back to my stove. So, first of all, the tomatoes. I already picked them from the green twigs. And first of all, we are going to wash them. So, in the sink they go. The mushrooms. You don't want to wash the mushrooms. If you have the white ones, you can peel the skin off. What you can do with the brown ones is to take a piece of kitchen, whatever this is, and just wipe them a little bit so the dirt washes off. Why we won't wash the mushrooms with water is they will actually draw a lot of water into them, and we can't get them really nice and, well, not crispy, but you get the idea. So we don't want to do that. So I will just gently, well, let's say more or less gently, wipe them and wash the tomatoes. Everything is thoroughly washed, so we can start preparing it. With very fresh mushrooms, you only need to cut off a little bit of the stem. If they are a little bit older, you should maybe take the whole stem out by just doing something like this. So push it to the side and to the other side, and it will come out as a whole. I do that because I don't really like the taste of the stem, especially if it is not fresh anymore. So I can leave that to you. I will leave the stems in because those are fresh mushrooms, and just cut a little bit of that. And a boop. And doop. And the last one. There we go. So now I will go with cutting them into halves, and afterwards into the other direction slice them about, what is that, like 5 millimeters. It doesn't really matter because they shrink quite a bit in the frying pan. So you can do little cubes if you want to, or just slices, bigger slices I mean, or you can just put them in whole. Entirely left to you. I just go with halved slices. There we go. Turn it over. Whoop. Hey, come here you. And this one tried to flee. Next up, the tomatoes. Come here you. So, where can I put these? Okay, let's put them into the sieve. It is clean after all, so I can use it. You need to at least halve them. I will go ahead and do little quarters. If you don't like the skin of the tomatoes, you can either cook them for a little bit and cut a little X into the skin like this. And if you cook them for a little bit of time, so 1 or 2 minutes, it is afterwards easy to peel the skin off. With those small tomatoes, it is a quite big amount of work, so I won't do that, and I don't mind the skin. It's easier, of course, with bigger tomatoes, or you can right away go to tinned tomatoes, which is a little bit easier. You can use a small tin then of about 200 grams or 250, whatever you can get in your local supermarket or farmer's market or wherever. But as I stated, those little small tomatoes are much sweeter than the bigger ones. And I like to cook fresh, so I'm staying away from the tinned tomatoes for today. They're great for other stuff, but for this little recipe, I think those little ones will do the trick. And let's get the rest of them out here and do our little bit of mayhem. We have 2 things left. The optional garlic, if you want to use it. If not, just skip ahead a little bit. And of course the shallots. Oh, I can smell the garlic and it's gorgeous. I really love garlic. Can't say why, it just has a nice taste, it is healthy, and I actually like the smell. Not really the smell it will give off when I ate it and I'm breathing in one person's face, but I really like the smell right now after cutting it. Okay, peel the onions, or shallots in this case. You can use normal onions, of course. I just used the shallots because they are left over from last week, and yeah, as I stated last week, they are quite nice for, well, for creamy sauces, but honestly for any kind of sauce, because they are a little bit milder. Oh yeah. So this is a little bit of older garlic, so I will take this bit out because it is already a little bit wooden and it will taste bitter. So garlic will not go off for quite some time, but you might get little pieces like this, and you want to be careful with that because it doesn't taste nice. So alright, things like these happen. I'll cut the shallots into quarters and then slice them. There we go. They're quite small, so hard to slice. There we go. And the other one. Oh, also, tomatoes and onions, or shallots in this case, go together quite nicely. So, for example, if you make a tomato salad, you can't do a tomato salad without onions, at least in my opinion. And this is what counts here, right? This is my series, my opinions count. Alright, we got that. I still have to cut the garlic. And I will use another knife for that, but you won't have to endure me through that. I will just cut a little bit forward. Alrighty, I cut the garlic as well. Now we can prepare to actually cook. So take about 1 tablespoon of oil, put it into the pan and put the heat on a higher level. Not too high, I use 7 to preheat, which is, well, 7/9 of the maximum heat, so, well, okay. Just on higher heat until it is preheated. And I put the shallots on top of the mushrooms because I will fry them together. I won't fry the garlic because, as I already stated last week, garlic tends to get very bitter if you actually fry it on high heat. So I will add it later when it's just cooking thoroughly and we are preparing the pasta. For now I want to fry the mushrooms to get them nice and a little bit brown, so they give off a nice bit of aroma, scent and taste to the later sauce. And yeah, I know you use circular movements to actually distribute the oil throughout the pan. I don't know why I tend to do just the shoving in every direction. Really, I don't know where I got that. Anyways, it has preheated a little bit, so into the pan you go. It looks quite a lot, but as you will see later, it really isn't. It really isn't. For now I will just put it through into the pan, distribute it more or less evenly, and wait. As for seasoning just the mushrooms, I will add pepper later, but no salt. We will add salt later when we add the tomatoes, because when you salt mushrooms as you are frying them, they will draw water into them and you can't get them to be a little bit brown so they look grilled. So we won't do that, which is no problem because you always can add salt later. And it starts frying. Hooray! and of course it will take its time until they get like I want them. So I will cut a little bit forward. Be careful that you don't burn them. So every now and then stir a little bit. Don't put it on a too high level. So if you have a gas stove, about medium to high heat, so about 2/3 of the way maximum. You don't want them to burn on the pan, even if it's non-sticky. Black mushrooms aren't that healthy. That sounds actually quite better. Okay, see you in a few minutes. As you can see, the mushrooms actually started frying. What you see here isn't smoke, this is the water emitting from the mushrooms, because those consist of a big portion of water, and they will lose most of it during frying them. I'm actually trying to see if I can find one that has a little bit color to it, but not as for now. As you can see, they shrink quite a bit. It was a huge portion when we started, but now it already shrunk quite a bit, and it will shrink a lot further. But that is expected of mushrooms. They shrunk a bit more. I want to show you what I meant by they are taking color. Come here, you bloody... Oh my... Yeah, we want them to shrink a little bit further. I don't know if you can make it out through the steam. I really hope so. But they are starting to get a little bit brownish. So just what we want. And I didn't take any of the mushrooms away, they just shrink. I will not urge you to do anything, but I would suggest to use fresh mushrooms and not tinned or mushrooms from a glass, because those have already drawn huge amounts of water, and I don't know, you can't get them as nice as fresh mushrooms. This is what I meant. I hope the lens picks it up. So a little bit brownish, a little bit more actually we want. I will turn the heat down now to medium, which is a 5 on my stove. So around half of the maximum of your stove should be enough. If you have the gas stove, a little bit further down. And immediately the noise stopped quite a bit. Right, now we turned the heat down. I will use some pepper. Fresh pepper from a small mill. Not too much, just one time, so all the mushrooms get a little bit of pepper. Stir it so the pepper distributes evenly. Yeah, and as you can see from the huge portion of mushrooms we had earlier, there isn't that much left. Anyways, if it looks like this, so mushrooms have a little bit of brown to them, and the onions, if you use them, are a little bit brown, we can put in the tomatoes. So just put it in there, and that's it. Stir it. And now, well, more or less the waiting game. What we can do right now is add the herbs. So, thyme. Come on you. There we go. The rosemary. Not too much. Oregano. A little bit of cayenne pepper. Be careful because, yeah, that stuff is spicy. And now stir it again. And I will destroy the tomatoes, yeah. I will stomp on the tomatoes deliberately to release their juices so we get an actual sauce. We want to do that on medium heat so it just cooks and not gets rid of all the water, because we actually want a little bit of sauce with it. Speaking of sauce, okay, this is more like a, well, what would you call it? Like a relish? it is not a very fluid sauce afterwards. Anyways, I will add a little bit of balsamic vinegar, about a tablespoon, so like this, maybe a little bit more, depends on your taste, as all seasoning goes. Always season as much as you like it to taste later. And I think that sentence didn't make any sense. Anyways, don't put too much spices in here. I like to use a lot of herbs. I like it a little bit more spicy and hotter. If you don't like that, be careful, especially with the cayenne pepper, and later the tabasco, because it will be too hot afterwards for you to eat if you do too much. And as you can see, it gets more and more like a sauce, like a paste. This is the perfect time because this just needs to cook for a little bit. I will turn the heat down to a 3, so 1/3 of the heat. We will now prepare the pasta water. I've got the water here. 1 tablespoon of salt. I just don't want to use the tablespoon. And then heat to maximum for that field, so the water can start to boil. And when it boils, I will bring you back in. For now, just stir the sauce every now and then. Destroy those little tomatoes like they insulted your mother. And just watch it being or getting a real sauce. I nearly forgot the salt, so let's put a little bit of salt in there. As I said, salt it just to your liking, not any further. You can always put more salt in there. And I will use some tabasco, 2 squishes. You don't have to do that. If you like it and if you got it, put it in there, but if not, please don't. You don't have to do everything I do. I encourage you to do your own variants, especially as seasoning goes. And I think I don't have my mind together today. I forgot another thing, my garlic. Right now is a good chance when the noodle water is preparing. If you don't like the garlic, just leave it away and leave it be for now. The pasta water will start boiling very soon. Put down the heat for our sauce down to nearly nothing. You could actually go ahead and turn off the stove, but yeah, leave it on a very, very low setting for now. This is more like a paste than a sauce. I will add 2 or 3 tablespoons of the pasta water later, when the pasta is already cooked for 9 or 10 minutes. And that is the reason why I didn't put too much salt in there. You don't have to do that, but it will bring out the sauce a little bit more. But it is entirely optional, like a lot of things. For now, this sauce has adopted the tastes of every of the ingredients. Of course, it will mainly taste like tomatoes and mushrooms, but with the added herbs, spices, and especially with my added garlic here, it will adopt that taste as well. And as I'm speaking, the water in my mouth starts flourishing because I'm getting hungry. Great! Well, let's see. It is nearly boiling, as I said. And the Penne Rigate, these little things here, they need 11 minutes. I don't know if I actually said that, but you want to use the pasta that is made without, I repeat, without eggs. There is pasta out there that is made with eggs, but that is not the original Italian pasta. The pasta which is made with eggs you can use for soups or like a pasta salad, but not if you actually want to enjoy pasta. I don't know, I think the plain pasta just tastes a lot better. There are different kinds of pasta, for example made with spinach, that is the green pasta, very delicious, yummy yummy. There is even black pasta out there which is made with octopus ink, I think. Yeah, I think it was that. There is orange or reddish pasta which is made with tomato paste. So there is a huge variety out there. And the water is boiling. So I killed enough time. Anyways, pasta into the pot. Start the timer. And the occasional stirring. Put down the heat to 2/3, maybe a little bit lower. And I will bring you back in about 9 or 10 minutes when I use some of the pasta water. Sorry, that was a little moment of weakness. I will bring you back in a few minutes when I add the pasta water to the sauce. The pasta has circa 3 minutes left, so I will now take some of the water. Just 1, 2, about 3 tablespoons, and by the way, keep stirring and just mix it with the sauce so it doesn't look too dry. You can repeat that one more time if you want, but be careful because there is salt in the pasta water. The water will evaporate, but the salt will stay. So with each tablespoon of pasta water you put in there, you make the sauce more salty. I will now turn down the heat entirely, so no more heat for the pan. And I will bring you back in 2.5 minutes to get rid of the pasta water. And then afterwards, eating! Last time stirring, because the pasta is nearly done. I will turn out the heat, so get rid of the timer because I don't need it. I can wait 15 seconds for myself, thank you very much. Yeah, our sauce / paste is very much done now, so we don't need to do anything with that. So let's just take the pasta. Let me bring you into my sink. And there we go. And back to the stove. And the pasta goes in here. There we go. And I will just mix it and bring you back in when I can show you the nice outcome. And here you can see the outcome. My penne with tomato and mushroom sauce, or tomato and mushroom relish, you might want to call that. Anyways, let's give it a taste then. Tastes like tomato. It is quite spicy and hot, like I want it and like I like it. I might want to add a little bit more salt, but that is just my taste and liking, so yeah. Thanks again to Andy Ray Sim for her second request after the pesto alla genovese. And if you want me to do another dish, just type your request in the comment section or post me a message, and maybe next time I will do your dish. So, I certainly hope to see you next time as well. So until then, yours faithfully, the Pastafarian.